Let's get started here. The topic for today's webinar is why aspire for financial freedom. Before we get started, a disclaimer. This webinar is free of charge. You're not expected to be a client of Empower Financial either now or in the future. The information provided here is not individual advice. Please consult your financial advisor or your tax professional for your specific situation. The information presented in this webinar draws on various sources from the internet. While we have tried our best to use accurate and most up-to-date sources, we cannot guarantee the information of everything provided here. And any investment products or examples that we use are for illustration purpose only. They're not individual advice. With that out of the way, let's get started. The agenda for today is we'll start off with an introduction. Then we'll look at what is financial freedom and what it's not, the reasons to aspire for financial freedom and what the journey looks like. And then we'll go into some reflection exercises followed by a Q&A. The webinar should last about 45 minutes or so, with about 30 or 35 minutes for the presentation, and then we'll open it up Q&A. The introduction. This webinar is brought to you by Empower Financial, and I'm Praveen Krishnamurthy, the principal advisor for Empower Financial, and we are an advice-only financial advisory. What that means is that we don't manage your assets, but we offer advice on how to do that. We provide comprehensive financial planning on all aspects of personal finance, like investment advice, budgeting, cash flow, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, college savings, and so on. This webinar will be focusing solely on the question why rather than the how. So we won't be discussing things like sources of passive income or safe withdrawal rates. We think there are a lot of resources out there on the internet which talk about how, and our time is better spent on talking on why. That is really the most important thing, in my opinion. Once you answer this question, why something is, why you want to do something, the how usually is much more easier to answer, so it won't seem as daunting. So we'll focus on the why. Another motivation here is this topic is very close to my heart. My wife and I have been on this journey and continue to be. It's been a great journey, so it's a wonderful opportunity for me to share with all of you. I also think that this topic is very relevant, more so today, because of the work culture we are in, and we'll see more on that later. With that, let's jump right into the content. What is financial freedom? Before we define financial freedom, I want to let you know that there is not a single definition or a single right definition of financial freedom. It's more of what you make of it. So you'll see my definition and how I interpret it and how I view it, and you can come to your own conclusion. Also, I use the terms financial freedom and financial independence interchangeably. To me, both mean the same thing. So this is my definition here. Financial freedom is a state where one does not have to actively work to earn a livelihood and has passive sources of income to support a lifestyle of their choosing. Okay. Let's look at some of the unique facets of this definition. A passive source of income is one where you don't need to give it constant attention, like time and effort. So there's a degree of hands-offness, or you can put it on autopilot, if you will. On the other hand, there is active income or active source of income where it needs your constant attention, like a full-time job, for example. And both of these, active and passive, they have varying degrees of activity or passivity, if you will. For example, passive income, all you might have to do is just rebalance your portfolio once or twice a year, spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes checking on your portfolio, versus something like choosing a new tenant if you have a rental property of your own, when an old tenant moves out, that might take more like a day or 2 days. So it can have varying degrees. Just like active can have varying degrees. We have full-time job on one hand, then there's a part-time job or seasonal jobs, project-based jobs. So really, it's a spectrum. And the same thing with lifestyle. The choice of lifestyle is completely yours as long as you're able to support it. So as you can see, there is a lot of variability and flexibility in this definition. How you define active, passive lifestyle, it's all up to you. So you get to define how your financial freedom looks. Look at the same thing using a picture. You can think of active and passive as a spectrum. And on one hand, you have fully passive, and on the other hand, you have fully active, and you get to choose where you want to be on the spectrum, more towards the active side, more towards the passive side. So financial freedom itself does not mandate where you need to be. Same thing with lifestyle. You can have a very frugal or just a need-based lifestyle, or you can move towards wants and luxuries and have a more lavish lifestyle. You can settle down in a low cost of living area or a high cost of living area. So there's a lot of choice, and there is not a single right or mandated choice of lifestyle that is imposed. And one more thing, when it comes to income, active and passive is just one way of looking at it. There's another really important way to look at it as well. Do you have a choice? This really is the most crucial difference. It all comes down to choice. Are you doing it because you want to do it or because you have to do it? Because that's what will ultimately determine your attitude towards your job or what you're doing and how much you really enjoy it. So ask yourself, what really is the role of choice in financial freedom? And choice is really everything when it comes to financial freedom, the way you define it. So moving on, let's see what it does not mean, because there are a lot of myths out there about what financial freedom is. So let's take them one at a time. The first one is you're retired. In fact, there's this nifty acronym called FIRE, financially independent, retired early. And people think it's the same thing as financial independence. It's not. Retirement is a decision that you make once you reach financial independence. So early retirement can conjure images of traveling and blogging and on a cruise ship or something like that. Those need not be true. What you do after you reach financial independence is completely up to you. Many people take a break for a few years and go back to a job, or they start a new career, or they continue doing projects that they like. So it really depends on you as a person and what you want to do with the time that you have. So financial freedom, by all means, does not mean that you're retired. And retirement also has this connotation of withdrawing. And in my opinion, when somebody reaches financial independence, especially when they're young, the last thing they do is withdraw. In fact, they lead more active and full and productive lives. The second myth is that you are rich. For sure, financial independence means a certain amount of privilege. You have autonomy over time, you choose things. So that definitely means a certain level of privilege. But it does not mean that you have a lot of wealth in a traditional sense. Because remember, you choose your lifestyle. So you can be on the needs or the frugal end of the spectrum, or you can be on the more luxury and lavish side of the spectrum. You choose it as long as you can support it. It doesn't mean the opposite, that you're poor, no, and that you live on PBJ sandwiches. That's not true either. You might be frugal, but you are not poor. The next myth out there is that you're less productive or you're less busy. Quite to the contrary, your life becomes very active and full. You have choice and autonomy over your time. So people end up doing things and exploring things that they have been wanting to for years, but they could not because they were busy with their work. So it really opens up your time to do things and engage in things that you might not have done or have always wanted to do. Right. That was the definition and some nuances of financial freedom. Now we'll go to the heart of this presentation, which is why should one aspire for financial freedom? And in these upcoming slides, I will be going over a few different reasons. In fact, they're mostly one reason, but we are looking at it in different ways, and some of them might resonate more with you than the others. So let's look at it. The first one is the cost of earning money. What is work? Work is really trading our skill and time for an income. In other words, you go to your job, you use your employer skill, you spend time there, and you earn money in return. And we generally are focused on one side of the equation, which is earning money, but we don't think a lot about what we're giving in turn, the time, the skills, the cost associated with picking up those skills. So they all form the other side of the equation that we don't pay attention to. So when we start paying attention, we realize that there are costs associated with earning money. The first is the opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is when you are using up a limited resource in one way, which means that you cannot use it in other ways which are potentially more profitable. So that is the definition of opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost with our work is that we are spending time at work, which means that we cannot spend time with ourselves, doing things that we want, with our families, growing, watching kids grow, or spending time with our families, social, or even other personal aspirations. Maybe you want to start something, or maybe you want to learn something. So you can't do all that because you are spending the time at work. So that is opportunity cost. And what this means to you, only you can define what you're giving up in bargain. There is no universal opportunity cost. What you're giving up means something to you, and only you know what it is. So it's good to take stock of what you're giving up in bargain when you're going into work. The next cost is direct costs. Things like getting workloads, getting a car for commuting, or the health issues and the money that you spend resolving them because of the stress, childcare, or having a certain lifestyle that your career demands. All these are direct costs. You need to pay these directly out of your pocket in order to be employed, to stay employed. So there are opportunity costs, there are direct costs. Earning money is not free. We have to pay a cost. So it's good to step back and look at what the cost that you are paying to stay employed and earn money. Moving on, reason number 2, you are not happy at work. Well, studies show that only 1 in 5 people are engaged at work, and only 5% report that they're not stressed. Of the remaining 95%, 63% report high levels of stress, and 32% report manageable levels of stress. These are some staggering numbers any which way you look at it. If you pick any 5 people at random in the workforce, 4 of them are not really engaged. Can you imagine spending 8 hours or more of your daily life on something that you are not fully engaged in? That adds up. That does cost something. Full engagement at work comes from, obviously, a pay that is commensurate to your skill and you being interested in the job, but also a sense of contribution to something larger than yourself, a sense of growth, and learning and challenge, a sense of appreciation and a positive affirmation of your unique skills. Not just a check at the end of the year saying, thank you for all the work, here's your bonus. That is, yes, that is appreciation, but a positive affirmation of your unique skills, somebody taking out to appreciate your unique strengths, that is something. So ask yourself, is your work providing all this or any of this even? Because if they don't, the chances are that in the long run, it will start weighing on you and it'll make you unhappy. And if you are unhappy, it will show up. this will start seeping into other parts of your life. When you go back home, how you show up with your partner, how you show up with your kids, your own happiness levels all matter. So it's time to take stock and see what your workspace is providing you apart from a paycheck. And I also feel like in order to bring the best out of yourself, you need to thrive, not just survive. You need to be in a good frame of mind. You need to be happy. You really deserve to be happy. And only you can truly tell this to yourself. Moving on, reason number 3, societal norms need not be yours. Yes, we all know this. Peer pressure, FOMO, societal norms, they're all really true. It affects us all. We are not immune from our surroundings. So what is the work culture today? Career has become a central point of our identity. Working long hours and staying connected have become the norm. Career breaks are looked down upon. So there's a strong 40-hour paradigm of work. There's a complete dichotomy between work and non-work, so much so that it's called work-life balance, as if work is not a part of life. And the expectation that you are switched on completely at work, they all, I feel like, are a complete failure of our society and the way we've designed a society to tap into our collective potential for happiness and meaning, joy. So a good question to ask yourself is, how much of my current life have I actively chosen versus involuntarily just being handed to me and I'm just walking? Have I charted any of this path, or is just that I found a path, I'm just walking on it? So that's a really good question to ask yourself. And financial freedom gives you an opportunity to step back and design your life, to kind of move around different parts of your life so that it's more in balance. So that's reason number 3. Reason number 4, this applies to a small fraction of people, but it's still very relevant. In fact, I would go on to say that it's more relevant for people who have already accumulated the wealth, to look at financial freedom and then think about what they want to do with the wealth, rather than continue accumulating wealth. There's a saying which goes like this: if you've already won the game, then stop playing. And by wealthy, I don't mean people who've had a windfall at work or people who've had a large inheritance, but it also includes, let's say, people in their early or mid 50s, empty nesters, who worked for a better part of 2 or 3 decades, earned money, been diligent about investing, and they have enough, but they just don't realize it, or they don't take stock of it. They have enough to pause, put that money to work so that they can go do other things. Things that they enjoy, things that enriches their life, makes their life more meaningful. So it's really important for people who have wealth to think about financial freedom way more seriously. Moving on, reason number 5. This really is the ultimate reason. If this switch goes off, the switch being time is more valuable than money, then you will start thinking more about how to use your time wisely, how to align your life to this fact of time is of essence, money is secondary. I feel like the old adage, time is money, is wrong. I feel like time is way more valuable than money. This really interesting study conducted by a hospice nurse among her patients. She asked them, what were your top regrets as they were dying? And their responses are really telling. The first one is, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. This really goes back to the societal norms reason we were talking about earlier. Do you have the time and space to ask yourself, what do I want, and make it come true? That is a question. The second one is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Goes back to our paradigm of unhappy work. We're all kind of programmed, expected to work hard because that has become like the focus of our lives. But really, is it providing anything more than paycheck? And the next reason is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends, which is opportunity cost. All these regrets stem from this basic fact that something occupied their life so much that they could not really ask themselves, is this what I want? Is this what I want to do with my time? Is this how I want to lead my life? So financial freedom is more about stepping back and giving yourself the opportunity, not when you're 65 or 70, to do some of these things, but hopefully earlier, even if it's 55, even if you're gaining 10 years of your life to lead a more fulfilling life, it's way more valuable than any money that you will leave to your kids or you'll leave in your estate. So think about time as gifting yourself, or financial freedom as gifting yourself time to do these really, really important things in your life. And here's the thing, most of us get this at a very intellectual level, that time is valuable than any money, but we are not able to align ourselves to this fact, our actions, our lifestyle. And if there's time towards the end, I will go over some exercises or some ways to kind of explore this a little more. So those were the 5 reasons why you need to aspire for financial freedom. So moving on, I'll talk about the journey. This need not be a universal, this is not a universal experience, but your journey might include and will probably include many moments of these. So let's look at what to expect on the journey. It's a very, very personal journey. First and foremost, it's a journey of self-awareness and questioning status quo. You're asking these really deep questions like, what makes me happy? What gives me meaning? What do I really want from life? So these are some deep questions that you're probably asking yourself for the very first time in a serious way. The next thing is your relationship with your own self changes. You will be way more accountable to yourself as you realize more and more that time is more valuable than money. Your own happiness is important, and only you can help yourself be happy. So you will prioritize self-care, and by that I just don't mean yoga or exercise, but a deeper form of self-care where you're asking yourself, am I happy? Are my actions and my lifestyle aligned to make me more happy? So you'll be responsible and accountable to yourself in a very deep way. The next thing is your relationship with money changes. We are so used to measuring everything with money, but for the very first time in your life, you will have to put a value on money itself. You'll have to quantify how much is enough for me. And this is a paradigm shift. You're thinking everything in terms of time now, or you're trying to ask yourself, if money is not the most important thing, then what is? So this will change the way you view money, the way you view buying things and consuming things, because they all cost money. So it really goes to the heart of what money really means to you. And when you look at this slide, you realize that most of these questions are really difficult and they don't have a right answer. It's a very, very personal exploration. But one thing I want to show you is that even though they are uncomfortable questions, just taking the time to answer them is well worth the effort. You will realize that the very process of answering them is rewarding. With that, let's move on to exploring this topic of financial freedom by ourselves. Reflection exercises. So in this, I wanted you to consider 5 aspects of your life. Social, which is spending time with friends, family, and then this financial, which is earning money, taxes, investing, anything related to finances. Self-care, which is time for yourself, exercise, yoga, a personal ritual, or a spiritual practice, household responsibilities, which is you live in a household and you need to take care of things, cooking, cleaning, maintenance, taking care of kids and PTA meetings, aging parents, hospital visits. All these are household responsibilities. And then there's leisure, which is just really like water flowing amidst these other parts of your life. The time that you spend decompressing, vacations, watching TV, reading news. We all need this. We can't be active and busy all the time. We need some decompressors, and leisure is that. So these are the 5 aspects of your life that I want you to consider. They're in no particular order here. Moving on, the first exercise is look back at the past 18 to 24 months of your life and rank these 5 aspects of your life in the order that they have occupied your mind share or your bandwidth. Let me define that term, mind share or bandwidth. Mind share or bandwidth is a combination of your time, your energy, and your attention. It's like how much of your life do these things occupy? And remember, while you're doing this exercise, be honest with yourself and focus on the last 18 to 24 months or 15 months. We don't want to just take like last 2 or 3 months, because if there's some anomaly, like a really busy project, then you don't want that to kind of color the entire experience. So look back at a year or 2 and come up with a ranking of how much they've occupied their mind share. And we'll take a couple of minutes to do this. And I'll go back to the 5 aspects so that you have that handy. Let's take a minute or 2 do that. All right. I hope that was useful. Now that you have done it, you can ask yourself, what do you want it to look like in the future, in an ideal world? How would you change this? And you can also, now that you know this exercise, you can come back and do this every year or 2 years and see if it's moving in the direction that you want it to. So I really hope that that was useful. And moving on, there's a second exercise, which is, in addition to ranking it, create a pie chart where each item is a slice of the pie, and you're assigning it a percentage such that the sum total of all is 100. I highly encourage you to do it on Excel or Google Sheets. It's really easy to create a visualization, and visualizing gives you an entirely different perspective. So I highly encourage you to use a tool and do this. What you need to do is just create 2 columns, one for the activity and the other one for the mind share. Assign weights, like so on the diagram. Go to insert and choose chart by chart, and you'll be able to see how much of your time or your bandwidth has gone to which activity. And hopefully you'll have some really good insights by doing this exercise. And then you can build on this exercise. You can have your partner do it for themselves, and then you can have a discussion among yourselves about, is this really the way you want to lead your life? What do you want to change about it? So there are all sorts of jumping, this acts as a jump off point for various activities and questions. and then questioning how much leisure is important or how much social is important. So I encourage you to explore more using this as a starting point. All right, we are near the tail end of our seminar or webinar. Here are some closing thoughts. Financial freedom, remember, it's just a means to an end. The end really is to lead a more balanced, active, full, and happy life where you're taking care of yourself first and foremost, and then those around you. Financial freedom is not all or nothing. There are degrees and shades. So the invitation really is to explore and make it your own. Enjoy the journey. It's equally important as reaching the destination, if not more. Don't get caught up in things like pie number or how much money do you need. That's just one aspect of it. There's a lot more. Really going to the heart of those questions that we posed earlier is a big part of it. To end it off, happiness is the key to success, not the other way around. And intrinsic motivation is really the key to happiness. So go find what motivates you, what makes you come alive. And I really hope that you have a very fruitful and proactive journey on your way to financial freedom. With that, we'll open up to Q&A. Here's that QR code should take you to my Calendly link if you want to set up a time to chat with me. There are other ways to contact me, Praveen at Empower Financial, or you can go check out our website to learn more about our services. With that, let's just see if there are any questions. Okay, coming back to if this is a really big step, financial freedom, are there ways to kind of take baby steps? So I'll leave this slide up here. I call it slow time, which is essentially like, feeling the time and spaciousness around it rather than being hurried all the time. So here are some different ways. And I think they go from easy to more difficult, or more like, difficult to wrap your head around, coordinate. But yeah, here are some of the ideas. Sabbath, where you're just taking one day of a week or one day of a month where you're not doing anything pre-planned. You just do whatever is right in the moment. Then there's staycation, which some of us are familiar with. Take a break between jobs. You don't need to start on a Monday when you just quit your job on the last Friday. You can take a month off, just do things that you really like. Working part-time, many employers are allowing these days. Work 4 days a week or 3 days a week. A career break, an undefined break where you just go and explore things. Or many retirements where you work for a few years, take a couple of years off, come back to the workforce, and so on. So these are ways to kind of build your muscle to experience time and get closer to this idea of financial freedom. All right, I think with that, we've come to the end of this webinar. Thank you so much for your time and hope this was really useful. If you have any questions, then please reach us at Empower Financial. Thank you.